So with URC and Premiership semi-finalists decided, it's pretty good news for the Lions. Not the best news, of course. If Leinster would have lost, that would have been the best news. Harsh for them, but that is the truth there. But it frees up a few more squad members for the Argentina game for sure. And we could get a few more last-minute ones as well. But we're starting to get a team that could take shape, but still a few positions that might be filled up by call-ups. But I've got to think that the players that are free now with a maximum training time are going to be in pole position to get those starting spots for that big send-off game in Dublin against the Pumas. It's going to be a really good game, I hope, especially as more and more players become available. But we're starting to get there. It's not the disaster it could have been. It's still not ideal, but it should be okay. Again, from a Lions point of view, Glasgow beating the Stormers wasn't the best result, meaning Scott Cummins, Xander Fagerson, Hugh Jones, Tuipulotu aren't available. Hugh Jones, I think, will be available for their semi-final, although he's got a long-term kind of ankle Achilles injury that's just going to be going on probably for the rest of his career, it seems to be, but I'm sure he will struggle through that Lions tour, take the injections, whatever's needed to get it done. Edinburgh's close loss to the Bulls does mean that Pierre Schoeman is good to go, but Van der Merwe still injured, I think, though, so not particularly great there. But Darcy Graham, who was fit to play in that game, looked fantastic with a brace of tries. Could he get a one-off call-up? And if someone got a permanent injury, he comes in, because we've got Mac Hansen, who's still injured as well. So if he came in and looked good, maybe he would just go as injury cover. That's going to be an interesting one, because they do have extra spaces available. We had Munster's crazy loss to the Sharks. I say crazy because it was a penalty shootout in the end. But in one wink, we have Tadhg now available, which is great news for Farrell, because he could play second row blindside and happily be a starter and maybe even a test starter. So that's great news. Gloucester not making the playoffs, of course, means Thomas Williams is available. Northampton, they were always going to be available because they weren't going to make the Premiership semis, but they really did them a bit of a favour as well and didn't even play them in that last game, to risk injury, so they can be really fresh for the training. And I'm sure they're going to make a core of this Lions team to face Argentina. But the best result from a Lions perspective was Saracens not making the playoffs, because that means their captain can now lead the team. He can lead the meetings, the training, so much better. It creates a bit more legitimacy for the game. Of course, the game's always going to be a bit elbowed in, but with the captain there, it definitely makes it a bit bigger. Plus, from Saracens, you get the versatile players of Ben Earl and Elliot Daly, which really eases selection headaches quite a lot. So very quickly here, let's go through it. This is the sort of team I think we're going to see against Argentina, but things can change, of course. People can get parachuted in at the last minute. Be interesting to see how much training they think is enough. Pierre Schoeman could start at loosehead, so that would be pretty good. On the bench at loosehead, we could see a call-up, or maybe Ellis Genge if Bristol lose to Bath, which is very possible, and he might pop on the bench. There is a problem at hooker, that is for sure. Leinster are likely, possible, whatever you want to call it, to make the final. Cowan Dickey could make the Premiership final as well, or come into training quite late. So there could well be a call-up there as well. And I do see those Saracens boys of Jamie George and Theo Dan being invited to training and maybe play. Jamie George would certainly be another legitimate call-up, being a former Lion. Tight head could be another big problem area. Maybe Xander Fagerson gets parachuted straight in. Maybe they call up Finlay Bealham to cover somewhere, but that could be a bit of an issue. So front row, not the best, to be honest. We do get a test-looking second row of Maro Toje and Tadhg, so that's really good. Back row could be a real quick one. These guys will have the training, Morgan, Pollock and Earl. You can make a 6-7-8 just about, not a lot of line-out jumping. If the Lions want to play fast in Australia, this could be a really good test of that game plan. Alex Mitchell, Thomas Williams would both be great starters at 9, but in a new group, in a new team, it would make sense to have Alex Mitchell and Finn Smith together, the club mates. In the centres, Bundyaki could start at 12 very nicely, and Elliot Daly could play 13, or maybe they parachute someone in, say Tuipulotu comes in if Glasgow lose that semi. But Elliot Daly and Aki, maybe the centre partnership. Tommy Freeman definitely starting in the back three. Could start 15 if they wanted, but probably they're going to play Marcus Smith there because he's played there a bit for England and he's used to playing with Finn Smith as the double playmaker, so I could see that happening. But on the other wing, it is a problem spot. Van der Merwe, Hansen would be available, but they're both injured. I think Hansen could be injured for a fair number of weeks as well, so that could be a call-up, or they'll drop someone in last minute maybe, or shift Daly to the wing, something like that. So that's going to be an issue. And on the bench, more issues here. Could be a call-up at second row, or Ollie Chesham might come in if Leicester lose to Sale. Could be a call-up covering back row, or Tom Curry comes in. If so, you lose to Leicester, but it's not going to be both of them, that's for sure. I'm saying Thomas Williams is on the bench covering 9. They could go for a 6-2 split with Marcus Smith covering 10, starting at 15. So it could be a few more call-ups, and wouldn't it be great to see Darcy Graham getting that call-up? So let me know what you think the team might be based on what we know so far. Comments down below, like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you next time.